Hello YouTube.
First the train from London to Liverpool, then a short trip to the docks where I boarded the ferry to Dublin, then the long train ride through Ireland to Belfast. Not a bad ride, but excruciatingly long. Check in at the guest house in the town proper, quick supper, quick sleep, quick breakfast, and a hop on the local train here to the Holland and Wolff shipyard. Fortunately, it was punctual. I was worried about being tardy for being 3 hours early. My darling Claire always said to me, "Robin, you better get out of the house right now and go be useful for someone." She always did lovingly encourage me to show up for work early and give my best effort. Titanic is likely no different from the Olympic. They're structurally identical. The Olympic underwent these trials months ago, so this should be a simple repeat.
And now you can see the Titanic just there.
I board, observe her during the sea trials, vote aye or nay on her certification, and then I ride her back to Southampton. Come on, Robin, you can't mess this one up, as Claire always told me.
He keeps on going on about this Claire lady. I would believe it's probably his wife. So here we are in Belfast, the Holland and Wolff shipyard.
Let's look at the positive. The weather broke, and now I've been given the opportunity to board the Titanic advance to the trial. This gives me a bit of time to really admire the beauty of the ship before I have to scrutinize every last aspect of her functionality.
And this was the dry dock that she was in. Actually, if you go to Belfast, it's actually still there. And then you can kind of walk this far around. This game is powered by the Unreal 4 engine, so the graphics are absolutely amazing on this, as you can see. They're absolutely fantastic, and there is the Titanic, and you get a real sense of size as well walking around here, just how big it must have been all those years ago. So this game, when it's fully released, you'll be able to explore the whole of Titanic and be on board it when it sees it. So on and so forth. I believe there's some sort of story and plot to it, however I'm not quite aware of what that is at the minute, because it's still under quite a lot of development. So we'll just have a look at the outside. We're at the stern of the ship here, as you can see. You can just get a kind of idea from just how big the ship is. I mean, look at the water. The graphics are absolutely amazing here. Absolutely fantastic. The ship is perfectly well done as well. Everything's in the right place. It all looks right. So we'll walk around to have a better look at the ship. This was the train that we arrived on in the truck.
I had better find my way aboard. But I suppose there isn't reason for too much haste. No one else has even arrived yet, it seems. Plenty of time to explore if I desire. I'm quite surprised by the amount of confidence the industry is placing into this ship. She's not even certified yet, and her first ticketed voyage is just a week from now. No room for failure on these trials, I suppose. It's like getting dressed up for a date when you haven't even begun your courtship yet. How do you know if you'll be rejected or not? I learned that one the hard way.
I think you can, yes, you can explore in here. So this is some sort of some of the workers' till stations. You've got these tills here and barrels of paint that they want to paint the ship with. Because we're in Ireland, Irish whiskey, which I'm sure the Irish will be quite happy has been mentioned.
Belfast Lock is beautiful. with the hills around it and the morning fog, it reminds me of what I always imagined Puget Sound would be like. A man sure can make a living out in Seattle, if he can hold off the plague.
We're getting closer to the Titanic now, you can see just how big it is. But in terms of the ship, it's pretty much identical to the real thing. I can't really fault it for anything. It looks absolutely incredible. So at the minute there's only limited parts of the ship you can actually explore. However, obviously as it progresses they will release more demos and we'll be able to
I see they're doing all they can to extend my travel time. How do I find my way through this mess?
So here we are in the fitting out yard where Titanic was getting its interior built. And all its fixtures and fittings and the superstructure was all being fitted on board. Now you can't actually get on via this rear gangway.
So
you have to go
close
to the
to
front.
the aft gangway.
You get quite a good view of the stern anyway, so I'll head up it regardless. I mean, now you're up close to Titanic, you can see just massive. So we'll walk up this gangway. So here you can see
They couldn't simply move these signs out of the way.
third class
This
entrance
vessel
was.
has triple screws. Yes,
Well,
I
the
feel
steerage
the
classes
same
was
way
coming
right
up
now
back
too,
with
thank
the
you.
crane still on the cargo there. And up on the stern would be the docking bridge, which was the bridge they used for docking the ship. Just to give you a good view of the stern. And then up there you've got the first class and second class promenade decks. There. And then obviously down there would be the propellers and the engines of Titanic. We'll move on down. All sorts of boxes ready to be loaded on. This is what you would have seen in the opening day, April the 1st, 1912. So, not very long before her voyage to New York, which she never completed because obviously she sank on a maiden voyage with a loss of 1,500 people. I mean, yeah, you can see that just how big the ship is. Another testament to the graphics is here. You can see all the puddles of the water on the floor and damp decking, and you can see the coal here that would be used to power the ship. So it's coal powered, and the lifeboats there up on the top, although there wasn't unfortunately enough for the Titanic because the Board of Trade regulations required only 60 lifeboats, and Titanic put 18 on board, which is more than the Board of Trade requires, but it still wasn't enough for how much the Titanic could actually carry, but because it met the Board of Trade requirements, they didn't see it as an issue. Also the fact that the ship was supposedly unsinkable further strengthened their claim that the lifeboats were just there to meet the requirements, but they would never actually be used. So we'll walk towards the bow of the ship and have a look at the bow. So this is the midsection. The good thing to notice is that the fourth funnel isn't actually letting out any smoke, and it's because it was a fake. Titanic only had 3 funnels that were real, but they fitted a 4th one on to compete with the Mauritania, Lusitania and Aquitania, as they didn't think that they would want these to have any legs, considering that the Titanic, Olympic and Britannic would be competing against the Mauritania, Lusitania and Aquitania. Here you can see it says no home rule. Now this is a nice historical detail because at the time in Ireland they were bitterly battling out for home rule or against home rule. The majority of the people in the yard at Ireland were against home rule, but the person who was in charge of the yard, Lord Perry, was for home rule. He changed his viewpoint, actually, was originally against, and then he became for home rule, and that annoyed quite an awful lot of people. So here you can see the bow of Titanic, where the famous shot, "I'm the King of the World," was made in the film. The bridge is just up there, you can see with the glass reflecting the sunlight. And the crow's nest and the forward mast with the cranes there as well. Which is
you just can't beat that train carriage arrangement. It really stretched my cognitive abilities. People simply aren't stimulated enough these days. Claire tells me that every night.
When it was in this dockyard here, and along this part here of the hull, this is where the iceberg struck. If you look where this dip is here in the deck, Titanic could survive being hit in these 4 compartments up to where this dip in the deck ends. It could survive being struck in all 4 of those and having those flood, but Titanic, when it hit the iceberg, also opened the one here, and it couldn't survive that because it only went up to E deck, and then obviously the water overflowed at E deck and went back and back and back, and that's what doomed the Titanic in essence. And you can just get a sense of scale of how big this ship was. Bearing in mind this was the biggest ship in the world at the time. She did have a sister ship that was commissioned in a year earlier, the Olympic. But Titanic won the title of biggest ship in the world because Olympic weighed 45,000 tons and Titanic weighed 46,000 tons. So that's kind of how it got its title. Biggest ship in the world.
Since the aft gangway is blocked, I'll board here through the first class.
Wasn't any different to the Olympic. There was a few cosmetic differences. For example, you see it in the top deck here. It has small windows and then big windows, and the Olympic was fully exposed. But that was changed on Titanic. Also, the deck right underneath it was a promenade deck on Olympic, but nobody really used it, so Thomas Andrews, the chief designer, got rid of it and turned it into private promenade decks for the suites on B deck. So Titanic, you can say, is an improvement of the Olympic, and that's kind of why it weighed a bit more. So, without further ado, we might as well head on board and explore on board, because that's kind of the important thing. So we'll climb aboard. I will just see the kind of detail in there. Because it's absolutely fantastic, the scale. Titanic, we're now...
Most first-class spaces should be accessible at the moment, but I may be able to venture down to third class for a spell through Scotland Road on E deck. I believe I'm boarding before anyone else. Robin, right now you're the most handsome man on the Titanic.
Yes, this guy does like to sing his own trumpet a little bit. So, we are currently in the first class reception area on D deck. So we'll just have a bit of a look around, and you can see the attention to detail that went into designing this thing to make it the height of luxury at the time. I mean, look at all the golden doors. The floor there, and the floor there, and the tiling and everything. And oh, apparently you're not meant to go near that. And the gold skirtings there, and not these lights, but some of the lights do have gold signs, gold skirtings all the way down this cabinway. So we can't go down here at the minute. So what I'm going to do is work my way down to the bottom deck, which would be F deck, here, and it does go down another deck to G deck, but the first class didn't go that first, so we'll explore down. So we're on D deck now, and we'll have a look here first, see this is the first deck, and then work our way down and then back up. So this was the first class dining room. and reception area, so it had quite a lot of famous paintings on this one here, and I must commend them on doing really well. The seats matched the kind of fashions at the time, and the carpet's really well done. The famous grand staircase, so you'll see this room an awful lot in the film, with its golden lamp here. With D-deck, and passengers are requested not to smoke in this room after lunch hour. See all the chairs, all the floral patterns, that was kind of the in thing at the time, and the very pretty stained glass windows. And the designs there, you can see here, look, there's even glass, gold on the lines here. It's just how well done it was. An incredibly impressive ship.
I especially commend them for modifying the bulkhead. I never cared much for what was on the Olympic.
So here we are in the first class dining room with all the tables and chairs. You can't actually go past here, but you can explore this part here and up. So as you can see, here are all the stained glass windows here. There's a fan up there to keep people cool during the warm weather. All the tables are set with the White Star Line menus there, and the carpet again is exactly how it looked on the real Titanic. And the piano over there for performances.
I see many of the tables are already set. There will be a fine banquet here for company and partner representatives, myself included, along with the one and only paying passenger joining us on our way to Southampton this evening.
You can see there that that's the middle table there. That's where the captain would have had his dinner. Because the captain role was kind of a social and sailing the ship role at the time. Captain Smith was known as the millionaire's captain because he was liked by, ironically, all the millionaires on board the ship. And you can see all the paint and the roofing here as well. The absolute height of luxury for 1912, this ship was kind of definitely beat the Lusitania and the Mauritania for luxury on board. So we'll now proceed to go down one deck here. Again, there's another painting in the staircase here. We're now on E deck. And the clock will be set backwards at midnight 49 minutes. Come to that, so we'll go this way first. And these are just some of the first class rooms that are on board here. An open porthole. There's the photograph there. There's quite a lot of these lying around aboard the ship. But the main attraction on this part is the Scotland Road area of the ship, with a steward's lavatory here. And we'll head down this
is glorious. You can near well see half the length of
if
the
you'll
ship
stop
in
interrupting
this
me.
corridor.
We'll head down here because the third class dining room is down here. So we'll just head down here. Which, as you can see, is a completely stark contrast to what first class was, so you get an idea of just how separated the classes were back then. And they've got all these amazing paintings of the different liners from the time, so we haven't just got Titanic.
A stark contrast from the first class accommodations, I should say, but still a major improvement from the other liners I've inspected.
With the
in all honesty, I envy these people in the lower class. The world is open to them. They move to America and build their future how they choose. They could be loggers, for example. But father wanted me to be a surveyor like he and his father. No logging for you, Robin. Now wash your ears.
Getting very emotional there. We've got the Atlantic Transport Line there, with a very interesting ocean liner over here. Another advertisement for White Star Line, Olympic and Titanic. I know it says 45,000 tonnes, but it did weigh 46,000 tonnes, so it's quite clear that White Star Line didn't know the way to their own ship. And Olympic and Titanic again here. The sister ship Britannic would actually not be built until 1914, at which point the First World War broke out, and so she was hired up as a hospital ship, where she'd also sink after being claimed unsinkable on November 21st, 1916. But there was only 13 lives lost compared to the 1,500 lost on Titanic. So we've got the White Star Line here with the twin-screw RMS Megantic. And this ship looks like the Majestic, again from the White Star Line. I mean, you can see the graphics are just fantastic. I mean, look at the reflections on the metal of the glass. Just fantastic. So we'll head around this side. Quite an awful lot of the paintings are the same around here now. We've got White Star Line again here, which is Liverpool to Australia via Cape Town, sorry. And then the Atlantic Transport Line. We have Leyland Line, the SS Devonian, 12,000 tons. That's the Penland we saw. The Atlantic Transport Line there. And another advertisement for the Atlantic Transport Line. I believe they were Dutch. I mean, look at the reflection of the floor. The graphics are absolutely amazing here. I can't sing the praises enough. So we'll head back up the stairs. We've explored all of what's up here. I don't think the back here leads to anything apart from some rooms, yes. Well, we can explore further down here. But I mean, one thing to point out is look at the textures on the wood there. You can see the paint stroke marks on it reflecting in the light. Just how well done this is. It's definitely the best recreation of Titanic in game thus far. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's not even finished yet. There's very limited parts of the ship you can explore at the minute. So here's the second class steward's room here. Not exactly the height of luxury, you would probably agree. The door's open here?
Oh dear, the door is open. Perhaps I'm not supposed to look in here, but I can't pass up this opportunity for a little adventure. Oh, if Claire were here now to see me being so daring.
Again, this Claire lady, so this is one of the boiler rooms in the ship. You can see it leads up to a funnel up here, you can see.
How by Edward did I get myself here? Climbing too high, I think. No, Robin, it's not your time to get your angel wings just yet. No, not just yet.
Easter egg. This is just part of the ventilation for the boiler room here.
It's quite hot here. Where are the workers, though? Well, I suppose they're likely firing up the other boiler room.
You can see it in the boat view of the boilers here. Now here is one of the watertight doors that was supposed to make Titanic unsinkable, because you would seal off the bulkheads in the ship and then the water wouldn't get past the watertight doors. Escape through that bulkhead apart from the wall would have to have followed the ship all the way up. It didn't.
These machines are massive. 29 on board, propelling the ship through the water like an untamed beast. I anxiously await their performance during the sea trial shortly. Finally free and not held back from anything. No Mr. Tundry in sight. Just freedom.
Or this here with the coal burning. Now, there used to be a drop on board here called trimmers. The reason they're called trimmers, what they did was actually take coal from the coal pits. Yep, they have to be careful because of what either side of the ship. So if you took too much coal from one side of the ship, even if it's a list of port to starboard, hence why they were called trimmers, because they trim the ship. It's not you do with a plane. For example, when you say you pitch trim, you rudder trim, and so on and so forth. Back out and continue to explore the rest of first class. Well, this is third, but you can go here.
This open space looks like a fine spot for gathering and mingling between all parts of Europe as they make their journey across the pond to the New World. Perhaps a place on the west coast, like Seattle.
This man's obsession with Seattle, dear me. So we'll head down now to G deck. Which is here. Oh, it's F deck, sorry. So the Turkish bath hours are as follows: available from ladies to 10 AM to 1 PM, available from gentlemen from 2 to 7, because obviously with the kind of social standards at the time, men and women couldn't go to swimming pools and baths at the same time. Swimming bath will be open for gentlemen from 6 AM to 9 AM and for ladies 10 till 11, and for ladies and gentlemen respectively during the day at the same hours as the Turkish bath, free of charge. We've got all our tools laid out here, and
I'd hate to be corded back here in such a cramped cubby, the walls bearing down on you like all the troubles, hopes, and deepest desires you dare not dwell upon.
Very emotionally unstable, and some more whiskey. Obviously, the workers here, and the
a nice
Turkish
Arabian motif with cooling colours as passengers relax after their time in the baths. But what a poor state these workers left it in.
I mean, you can see the decoration in here is just absolutely fantastic. Look at all the tiling and the gold, and please contribute. There's the link for the website. I'll leave the link to the game website anyway in the description, so you can take a look and download the demo if you want, because the demo's for free, so you can have a look yourself. I mean, look there, the golden taps, and the water, and the clock there. And here are some of the
Who
baths
on
here.
earth is that lucky dog testing out the electric bath? And I believe I see a sliver of the plunge bath as well.
Is the swimming pool just there? So we'll now head on up, as we've explored F, G and D deck. So our next exploration is C deck. So obviously the reception room here, so we'll head up. Again, unique painting. And this is C deck up here. With all the first class cabins. And a clock here in the grand staircase with again another unique painting with notices board here. And this was the purser's office for Titanic, so you can just kind of see in the...
Soon this area will be bustling with passengers, anxiously sending telegrams and complaining about the most trivial of matters. I consider it a blessing that I will not be around to witness that.
So there you go. Again with the unique golden statues here, the heaters, where you can have a peek into the... oh, goodness me. Give me a bit of a shock there. Someone peeking through the door. Didn't actually know that was there. And here are the
lifts are out of order.
First class lifts.
That's
here.
fine. Real men don't take lifts. Lifts are for women, Claire says. Robin, take the long way up.
There's the lights with the gold on again, and we'll go down one of the cabinways with a map of the deck here, as you can see, with all the cabins and rooms and lavatories and all that was here. There's a first class room there. You can actually go inside it. There's a one on later on, so another one here. And we'll open here. Again, another cabin here. An idea of what they look like, and another one there. These would be the gentlemen's bathrooms here. The towel storage. So the engineering work that's still going on to build the ship. And here we arrive at the rear grand staircase here, which I do want to show you around. So it's exactly the same pretty much as the front, apart from we have the barber's shop
I
here.
wonder if the barber will be on board for the run to Southampton. Lord knows I should fancy a shave after my journey here. Speaking of barbers, I'm quite glad old Harry is there to look after Claire while I'm away. They always were fond of each other, and when my son was born, Harry was particularly fond of him, never missing a birthday. See, this is the kind of friend a man really needs. His presence seems to even alleviate her hysteria condition.
Because that's not referencing some sort of affair, obviously. I mean, you can see here a first class room, what a typical first class cabin here would look like, with a chair and two beds. Not exactly the uppermost luxury, but very, very nice indeed. Again, further along in the cabins. Corridor there. Sorry about the lag spikes, it's when I'm recording it happens, but it's actually very well performing on ultra graphics here. Again, another unique painting, and this is kind of a stark difference from the main deck. That this is white instead of the traditional oak wood.
I love the wood detailing here. It's absolutely perplexing.
These
now
clocks
that's a
actually
craft
work
I
if you
can
work
really
they do
respect.
actually change
Lovely
time.
wood. I've always been fond of wood.
And he's going on about
When younger,
wooded
I used to
detailing,
cut
so we'll
wood
just,
for the poor folks 2 streets over.
around here.
My neighbors started calling me Robin Wood. They always laughed at
books
but I
here
don't
with,
know why. I wore that title proudly.
Photographs, which I believe are some sort of like spotting around the ship game you can do, but here is possibly one of the most iconic sites on Titanic, which is the grand staircase with this marvellous glass dome they've got here. Absolutely looks fantastic. There's the clock there and the angel statue here. It's very famous. You'll see an awful lot of photos of the grand staircase here with all the gold panelling and everything on board. And we're now on A deck here. You can't go on A deck in the front part of the ship, in the front grand staircase for some reason, but you can here, so you can see it on the promenade deck there. And through here would be the
I suppose this won't be open anytime soon.
first class lounge.
A shame. I would enjoy nothing more than a cup of tea and to sit with a book in the lounge and, well, lounge.
And you've got stained glass windows here for the gentleman's smoking room.
What a fine accommodation for the
Which you can see
unwinding
there.
of the gentlemanly sort after a long day at sea. If only it were open now, and there were men in there to socialize with. Perhaps then I'd make some friends.
Quite possibly. I suppose you can hope that you make some friends. And here's one of the first class cabins here, which is slightly bigger than the ones we saw downstairs, with all the bunks and a bottle of whiskey in the wardrobe, as you do, with a view out onto the promenade deck. It's incredibly well done here. It's absolutely fantastic. I would suggest that you take a look around yourself and
I see Tommy Andrews is already on board. Why does this surprise me? His drawings are scattered about like toys in a nursery.
This is Thomas Andrews' room.
I shouldn't intrude here any longer.
Chief designer of Titanic. As you can see, blueprints of the Titanic. Which are absolutely fantastic. And there's the ship there and his drawings up there. This is where Thomas Andrews stayed. And we'll now head back down to B deck to explore just the... in fact, no, we won't, because I haven't showed you the Cafe Parisien and the a la carte restaurant here, so we'll have a look at the Cafe Parisien first. Which was supposed to give you kind of a sense of Paris and what Paris looked like.
It really does remind you of Paris, though excepting the smell of overflown sewage.
All the ivy on the
wonderful memories
are
coming back to me of that city.
French jazz, and you can see out to the shipyard. The cat with all the plates on. And then through here is the a la carte restaurant, with a menu here. And the manager of the restaurant, and
odd that this room would have its tables already set. Mr. Gotti hasn't even boarded yet. Oh well, top marks for presentation.
Buttresses there, and again the carpet and the marble on the serving desk here and in the glass, and absolutely fantastic with the chairs and the table set out properly. All the wood panelling. Again, you can see out into the sea with the net curtains here. And the roof design again with the chandeliers. Sorry about that lag spike just there. So we'll now head on back down to B deck, front grand staircase, and this is where some of the band would sit and play. So we'll just head on down here. Cabins up in here.
Cabins upon cabins upon cabins upon cabins upon cabins.
Yes, we get it. There's an awful lot of cabins. It's definitely can become irritating, the person voicing it over, but it's definitely an amazing demo of the game. And here you can see where the private promenade deck would be for some of the suites there. And that would lead out to the bow of that door just at the end of that corridor there. And then you can look into the elevators here. And even how luxuriously designed the elevators were with the lifts. Again, a notice board on B deck. There's everything there. We can go up as far as here and kind of show you the A-deck reception area and part of the dome in the first class grand staircase there, but not much else. And so that is it for exploring Titanic. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's kind of a bonus video. I'll still do 2 more to cover January and February. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I've got some people interested in this game, because it definitely deserves a lot more attention. It could be a very, very good game. I thank you so much for watching, and as you can tell, I am now back in the swing of things and videos. And until the next time, which should be some point in February, goodbye.